Moving on to the next one, we've been tracking the royals and Harry and Meghan, obviously deciding to go financially independent. Now they're kind of settled in Canada, it seems, for a little bit, and they've put out a statement. Barry has done a bit of a scan of the statement. What did you find?
Yeah, so before we get to the statement, it's worth talking about the context as to why they made it, right? So we remember they kind of have left the royal family in a way, and they've sort of like put away their duties, and they want to be financially independent. They want to be on their own 2 feet and all that good stuff. And so there's been a bit of animosity between the royal family and Harry and Meghan, right? And so they've been trying to figure out what is this new transition period going to look like, and how are they going to engage on these various levels and various things. So Harry and Meghan were going to start this thing called Sussex Royal, I think it was.
Yep.
And that was the brand they were going to use as like the umbrella for all of their charitable work and all of their things they're going to do in the next few years. And the royal family came out and said, "Hold on a minute. If you're not one of us, you can't use the word royal."
Yep.
And so all the trademarks that they had filed, all the branding they'd done on the website, the Instagram handle, all of that stuff, they now can't use the word royal anymore.
Yep.
And so in response to this, they kind of come up with a statement. And so I'll run through a few of the things. The first piece is that all of these transitions, all of these changes are going to happen from spring 2020. That's kind of the date that they've set, or the period they've set as a transition period to get all the stuff on the way. They made it very clear that Harry still remains 6th in line to the throne. So the order of precedence as to who becomes the King or Queen of England has not changed.
Right.
So if something crazy goes wrong and he needs to like take over, he will go back and take over as far as it stands right now. They have agreed, Harry and Meghan have agreed to not use the brand Sussex Royal or any use of the word royal in any of their things. And this is because of UK government rules that kind of prohibits anyone outside the royal family using those terms and brands. And they even went above and beyond that to say that there's no legal reason that outside of the UK they couldn't use those terms, but they've decided they're not going to use it anyway. So they're going to respect that wish, and no matter where it is, outside of the UK, Canada especially, they're not going to use the word royal at all. And so they haven't come out and said what their new brand is going to be. We'll have to wait and see about that. But they're bowing to pressure from the royal family in that sense. And then the last thing, which I thought was quite interesting, was they made it very clear that they don't plan to start a foundation themselves, but instead plan to develop a new way to effect change and to complement efforts already being made by various foundations on a global basis. And I actually like this a lot because there are so many NPOs, there are so many foundations and causes and whatnot that are trying to do good in the world, and that's fantastic because you get these inspiring people who want to start something themselves and they want to go and make it happen. But what I find sometimes is that then you spray and pray, and you've got resources being spread across 100,000 different options and causes and foundations, and you wonder if some of those were consolidated and given more resources, could they do more good? Rather than competing with 100 other foundations that do exactly the same thing for the same cause. So Harry and Meghan have decided to rather than start their own thing with their own name, they're going to go and support existing foundations which are doing great work already. And so this makes a lot of sense for me, and I want to see more of this. I want to see more consolidation so that bigger organizations and bigger NPOs can have a bigger impact rather than trying to compete for the same donation dollars. I don't know what you think, Chad.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely makes sense to me as well. I mean, if the core purpose is not for profit, the core purpose is to effect change in communities, why do they need to be separate entities doing the same thing? I completely agree with you there. In terms of just the general statement and this transition phase, there was obviously a lot of uncertainty when they announced that they were going to become financially independent. At least now we are able to see what this is actually going to look like. I find it interesting that they include in their statement that the name royal isn't specifically prohibited elsewhere in the world. Although, as you've said, they've used it in the context of we're going to respect the wishes of the family. I find it really interesting that they set up a base for which they could have actually appealed that. And a lot of people actually saying as well that they took a bit of a stab at some of the not so senior royals, Beatrice and Eugenie. These are royals who are able to have jobs, but are also able to undertake royal assignments. So although there's a lot of cooperation coming about, I do sense a bit of an undertone of hostility there. Don't you think?
I think so too. And when I read it, I get the sense that lawyers have got all their fingers around these statements, right? It feels like lawyers have been involved to try and put them in a position where they can act differently in the future. And so as we've chatted about British poshness in the past, as how this passive aggressive nature is how people deal with conflict, and so I can almost feel that passive aggression in these statements going back and forth between the royal family and between Harry and Meghan themselves. And so I think that the media is running away with this and loving every minute of it because there's drama and they can talk about the various drama. I mean, I was reading one piece talking all about how they've analyzed the statement and they can spot the Americanisms in it, which means that Meghan wrote it and not Harry, and yada yada yada.
Oh, man.
And so the British press are loving it. They're running away with it. But I definitely do sense some sort of animosity and some sort of conflict there, as to be expected, right? This is kind of an unprecedented move, and obviously it's quite. I don't think it was good for the royal family. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen going forward and whether they're going to stick to the kind of the representations they've made right now.
Across the pond with Barry and Chad.